loud Hare Krishna mantra.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
So thereafter Mataji, as a visiting wife of Vaisesika Prabhu, she also, just like I was reading the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagvatam, Mahishya, Tulya Shilaya, the word is used about Ambarish's wife. Ambarish's wife, there is not much mentioned in the Bhagavatam about her, but only one word is used, Tulya Shilaya, and she was equally good, it is said. Similarly, Mataji, silently she does lots of good work in the community, and Sukeshwar Mataji has told me about her in ISV, how inspiring personality she is. So these two great souls staying in the ISV, they are sending out, light and wisdom all across the globe, inspiring millions of souls. So we are very, very grateful that Prabhu has come today. Tomorrow also he is there in BCEC, Vishal. There is going to be a very special event tomorrow. All you are welcome. I think some of them are going to join that. Those who are arriving by train today night, they want to join that and he will come there. So we are looking forward to having Prabhu every year, but not immediately after the Yatra, but maybe before the Yatra, before he returns back to US. I heard that you are also with a group of children in the end of December, I think. End of December here we get 1,000 youths here. Yeah. If you could make it for one of the days, you can address 1,000 youths all at once and push them for good distribution. You can do that. Thank you. This is Vaisesika Prabhu ki Jai. This is Dasa Mataji ki Jai. हिंदी क्लास नीचे चल रहा है, इसका अनुवाद प्रभु जी का अनुवाद नीचे इधर DBS में भगवत धाम में चल रहा है। किसको हिंदी में सुना तो आप नीचे बैठ जाए, ठीक है? हिंदी ट्रांसलेशन कोई मान के।
Anybody know this harmonium? It's in Keystone. That was it. We're reading from the Srimad Bhagvatam, Canto 7, Chapter 10. Today's verse is number 18. Correct? Huh? Yes? Okay. Shri Bhagavan Vacha. Sri Saktidipika Bhuta. Puta Sadhusya Kule Jato Bhavai Kula Pavanam
Shri Bhagavan Vacha Shri Saptavita Bhuta Pitri Satena Yasadosya Kule Jato Bhavan Vai Kula Pavana
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Shri Saptavi Pita Putah
Shri Saptavita Bhuta
Pitubhi Sahatena
Pitri Satena
Yatsadosya Kule Jato
Yasadosya Kule Jato
Bhavan Vai Kula Pavana
Bhavan Vai Kula Pavana Shri Bhagavan Vacha Shri Saptavi Pita Bhuta Pitri Satena Yasadosya Kule Jato Bhavan Vai Kula Pavana Shri Bhagavan Vacha Shri Saptavi Pita Bhuta Pitri Satena Yasadosya Kule Jato Bhavan Vai Kula Pavana
Here the word for word means Shri Bhagavan Vacha.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
The Supreme Personality of God has said,
Three
7 multiplied by 3, that is to say 21. Pita, Father, Bhuta, purified, with your forefathers, Saka, altogether, Te, your, Anaka, O sinless personality, Puran, yet, because, Sadhu, O great saintly person, Asya, of this person, Kule, in the dynasty, Jata, took birth, Bhavan, you, Vai, indeed, Kulapavan, the purifier of the whole dynasty. Purport. The Supreme Personality, let's give translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Prahlad, O most pure, O great saintly person, your father has been purified, along with 21 forefathers in your family. Because you were born in this family, the entire dynasty has been purified. Srila Prabhupada, purport. The word Tre Saptapi means 7 multiplied by 3. In one's family, one can count back 4 or 5 generations to one's great-grandfather, or even one's great-grandfather's father. But since the Lord mentions 23 forefathers, this indicates that the benediction expands to other families also. Before the present family in which one has taken birth, one must have been born in other families. Thus, when a Vaishnava takes birth in a family, by the grace of the Lord, he purifies not only that family, but also the families of his previous births. I first offer my respectful obeisances to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and to all the Sangha. Vajja Kapadirvashcha Kripasindhi Chakatitanam Bhavnibhyo Vaishnadevi. Contemplate this verse is difficult because how can we calculate the mercy of the Lord, and also how can we count back 21 generations? As Prabhupada points out in the purport, we can go back a few and maybe there's some paperwork left over. And a family tree that was written by hand as you go back further, but it's hard to really trace it. Of course, it's done, obviously, but 21 generations is a lot. And forward, carrying something forward, is also practically inconceivable. That is, how is it that the Lord is so considerate of a pure devotee that he carries forward his mercy to the next generations? We do have some examples in the family of Prahlad Maharaj itself. We know that there's Kashyapa, and then we have, coming down from Kashyapa, Hiranyakashipu. And Hiranyakashipu's son is Prahlad. And then we have Virochana. And from Virochana we have Bali Maharaj. And then we have Manasura. Coming down to that chain, you can trace in the Bhagvatam, and also as mentioned by Sanatana Goswami in the Bhagvatam, that Krishna did give special consideration to each. In that, considering Bali, it's mentioned after promising the Lord 3 steps of land, and he was virtuous in his own right, and a pure devotee in his own right. The Lord evaluated his heart. Bhavagrahi Janardana is mentioned, that phrase, that the Lord examined Bali's heart. He knew that Bali had, in seeing Vamandev, immediately wanted to surrender to him. He wanted to bow down to him, but the time wasn't right. He was surrounded by demoniac associates. Those were his colleagues. And he was also in the middle of a yajna, which had its own constraints. And the Lord recognized his heart. That's why later in the story, Prabhupada mentions Bhava Grahi Janardana, that Krishna knows the heart of a person and responds accordingly. And there is some amazement amongst the demigods that Bali received so much mercy from the Lord that, as we hear, he gave him his entire kingdom in Sutala and also became his doorkeeper. In fact, there's times when the demigods have come requesting, could Vaman come and help fight for us? And that Vamandev himself will say, we ask Bali. Because the Lord is characteristically attracted to his devotees, and he only cares about the pure devotees. Sadhavam hridayam mayam sadhanam hridayam toham mananyate janati naham tebyo banadhi. Pure devotees in my heart, only I know the heart of the pure devotees. And I only know them and they only know me. So Bali Maharaj is glorified, but that may seem, well, that's not that unusual, since Bali in his own right was a pure devotee and he had that sentiment in his heart. And that's why he received so much mercy from Vaman. Then we come down to Banasura. And we find that Banasura became a demoniac person, although he had devotional tendencies. People can get carried away. It's the nature of the material world and the tatasta jiva. But in the end, when Krishna punished him, cut off his arms, he had 1,000 arms, 10,000. He left 4. And there's some consideration there that devotees, the commentators make, that, yeah, he gave deference to Banasura. What's more, Banasura, he reformed. That sense of devotion to the Lord came out. He wasn't altogether demonic, but that flavor was there. And why is it? That's not what Goswami says in the Bhagvatam, that Krishna was considering. This is a purified dynasty. That's the word used, Putra. That Prahlad Maharaj is there, So everyone forward, backward, against purification. And the ways in which the Lord considers these may seem inordinate. We find names of the Lord like Vaisesika. This is the name of the Lord in Treta Yuga. And when you read the definition of Vaisesika, you have to read it a few times, and then you might want to write it down and keep it in your pocket. Because the very definition given there in the 11th canto, 5th chapter, is that Vaisesika, the name of the Lord, means the one who notices if a devotee is thinking of him, then the Lord is inclined to shower him with unlimited mercy, just from somebody who thinks of him. And we find this inclination Krishna has to shower his devotees, but not just his devotees, someone who incidentally comes in contact with devotees, perhaps who are chanting Hare Krishna. For instance, there's a verse in the 11th canto, 2nd chapter, 55th verse, where Rishujite Hridayam Yasya Saksha Darir Abhisha Vihito Pyako Vinamsha Pranaya Rasanaya Virtan Kripadma Sabhavati Bhagavata Pradana. This is a definition by the Yogendras of the topmost devotee who is able to tie the feet of the Lord with ropes of love. Pranaya Rasanaya Virtan Kripadma. But the verse starts by saying, Vishrujati Hridayam Yasya Saksha Darir Abhisha. Abhisha means if somebody, an innocent bystander, accidentally says the holy name. As we know from 6th canto, Sankirtam Prihasam Stolo Helanameva Vaikunta Nam Hanam Ashesh Bhagava Hanam Vidu. The learned people who have studied this science know very well, the Vidus, that in any situation where somebody says the holy name, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
whether it's Sankirtan, they were doing it in some designation for something else like a motorcycle shop, Krishna motorcycle. Or even now we have the Krishna wine shop. Where is that? One of our cities. I just saw it, Krishna wine. Parihasam, some jokingly says, people used to tell us, they'd see us in the airport. The Americans thought it was really funny that we were called Hare Krishna, because that's how they pronounce it. And we were shaved up. So they'd make jokes about that. Hey, Hare Krishna, how come you have no hair? And that counts. That's Parihasam. They think it's really funny to say Hare Krishna. Somebody puts it in music. There was a famous musical in the 1960s called Hair, ironically. And it had chanting of Hare Krishna at the end. And when we came under the scene, when I started distributing books and meeting the public, people would always refer to that. Oh yeah, I know that. It's in that play called Hair. And they chant, yeah, and they'd sing the song, Hare Krishna. That counts. Helanam. Helanam means if somebody says it derisively, and Prabhupada mentioned it, somebody comes by and says, you Hare Krishna people, get out of here. Like, we'll count that. In fact, Gadadhar Dasa, mentioned in Chaitanya Bhagavat, he was one of the associates of Lord Nityananda and was eager to have the Kazi chant Hare Krishna. Because devotees get excited about this information. It's like, you mean if anybody chants Hare Krishna, the Lord, it has a tendency, as the verse says, Abhisha Vihito Pyakoganasa, it has a tendency to want to remove all their sinful reactions. If they accidentally say it, or incidentally say it, so devotees get excited about it. And Gadadhar Das, one of the associates of Lord Nityananda, Cowboy Boy, he came and burst into the foyer of the palace of the Kazi and made a ruckus. And the guards were trying to get rid of him. And then the Kazi somehow heard the ruckus going on, and he came out to his balcony to see what was going on. He's a harmless little cowboy boy, the associate of Lord Nityananda. So what's going on here? Hey, he won't leave. I'm not leaving until he chants Hare Krishna. Listen, son, I'll chant Hare Krishna next time. You come back. And Shigadharpada started dancing. Why wait till next time? You just did it now. It's too late. The damage is done. And so that's Krishna's inclination. Because Sakshat, he's directly there within the heart. Lord Hari is Sakshat Hari. He's there within the heart of every living being. So if he hears somebody say Hare Krishna, then he's inclined to remove their sinful reaction. What to speak of? Somebody who's pranaya rasanaya vijangi padma, which means they've taken on this mood in life that Krishna is everything. And the Mahamantra is everything. The Mahamantra is Krishna. In fact, the Mahamantra is better than Krishna. As Rupa Goswami says, in his Namashtakam, he says, name, Krishna, Vacham, Vachakam, same, but different. What's the difference? It's that the name is better than Krishna, because if we forsake Krishna, leave Krishna, the name still follows us where we go. And then if you say the name, then you're brought back into the association of Krishna, and you're plunged into an ocean of bliss. So the topic here is about how Krishna is inclined to give his mercy, but he's especially inclined to the mood of pure devotion. Yes, he gives liberally to everyone, even those that are bystanders. But here we find that Prahlad Maharaj, what was his mood? Lord Nrsimhadev, after killing his father, rescuing Prahlad, and saving the world, then says, please take a benediction, because I'm Bhagavan, I give benedictions. And Prahlad Maharaj said, no thank you, sir. I don't ask for benedictions, because we have one relationship only. That's, I'm your eternal servant, you're my eternal master, I'm not a vani. I don't want anything, no exchange here, as far as like, I want something in return for that. He didn't want to even touch that. He wanted to, not even in the same universe, that idea that you saved me, now I want some reward. It was odious to him to even think in that way. And of course, Nrsimhadev insisted, said, no, see, I'm Bhagavan, I give benediction. You take something, say, please save my father. And then he says this, that he's already liberated. Along with everybody else, 21 generations forward and backwards. That's for Shakati. Like you can't fathom how much mercy Krishna gives. That's one of his other names, Vachati. Vanchavidya, desire, and the way he fulfills it is Atita. It's beyond what you could ever expect. No one can understand how much Krishna fulfills even the tiniest inclination somebody has to serve him. That's why he says in the Gita, as a general comment, does he not? What verse am I thinking? What verse am I thinking? You gotta know what's in my mind. Neha Vikramanashasti, Katavaya Vedite, Swalpam, even if it's not just opam, but suopam. These are words they're nectarian words. They're actually rasika in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna, suopam, tiny little thing. That's all we can. If you just have some sense of devotion to me, then I'll amplify that. 21 generations forward and backwards? Where did that come from? Tiny little inclination, and that's what it is. Prahlad's mood, this is the gold standard, from which anyone can then make their way into devotional service. That Krishna, these are not my senses. Sarvapati Vinirmuktam, Tatpratmena Nirmalam. They're not my sense, not my hand. They're yours. It's not my body. It's not my country. Not my family. Everything's yours. And I use everything for you. I don't want anything in return. That's our relationship. And that's a kind of what is called in Chaitanya Charitamrita fragrance that attracts Krishna. And it comes up in the descriptions of Madhavendra Puri. The Madhavendra Puri appeared before Ishvara Puri, before Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But the fragrance of his devotional service, which was without, I'm going to say without, he was fully absorbed in the mood of serving Krishna. Nothing in return. Even when Gopinath stole sweet rice for him, and he thought, okay, now this is going to attract attention, he left. And Kaviraj Goswami glorifies Madhava that trouble just to serve the Lord, went to get his own hands. Very difficult journey. And so his mood at the world when he was calling separation. This is described by our acharyas as the fragrance that then wafted through our sampradaya. As then Srila Ishwara Puri brought that, and then they said Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then of course almost weaponized it. He amplified it so much and made it everybody in the world. Krishna notices it's that intense mood of devotion, and it's ganda, it's fragrant, and it's pervasive. And ultimately, it's the only thing interesting in this world. Secular. It's commonplace that people work for themselves. It's no big deal if somebody earns something in this world, even they do something that is so-called heroic. But then, in the end, what people measure is how selfless were they about it. Like, did they give their money away? That's what's interesting about, say, Rockefeller. He made billions of dollars in oil, but then the part that makes him seem exalted is that he had a plan to give it all away at the end. Or anyone, like there was this viral video on YouTube at a baseball game. You know what baseball is? It's fake cricket. When the ball gets hit out of bounds into the stands, it's a big deal. Somebody gets the tadiya that's been touched by a baseball player that has famous, right? So it's a big deal, and people fight over it. And sometimes if someone hits a ball out of the park, a sixer, somebody gets it, and it was a big sixer because it was their 100th or 1000th or something like that. The ball's worth millions of dollars. You can sell it for millions of dollars. And so the ball went out of bounds at some ordinary baseball game, and this little kid got it. It just bounced into his hands, and he turned around and gave it to another kid that wasn't related to him. And somehow it got caught by the news that they were filming the game. And they, what happened? He gave the ball away. And they came back again and again, and what's he doing now? And then they came down there, the people from the stand who were reporting, they came down. So it's like, I just thought it was a good thing to do. It's like, put it on the news. It was on the news everywhere. That kid gives the ball away. That's what everyone's looking for. They want to see something. Everything, if he had kept it, it's no big deal. He kept the ball, he went home. Commonplace. But what's uncommon, what catches people's sense of what's beautiful in this world, what is fragrant, enlivening, is somebody is selfless and gives it away. And so we find that the more and more refined that gets, and Prabhupada gives a sequence like this about how you can, as a little child, you want everything yourself, and then you think, oh, well, maybe I'll share something with my brother or sister, then maybe I'll give deference to my family members. Maybe when you're 24, you figure that out. And then, my village, my country, how about the whole world? And the more it extends, the more somebody's mature and exalted. So the pinnacle of all this is when one comes to the full realization that everything's for Krishna, and the mood of pure devotional service. Madhavendra Puri is said to send this fragrance throughout the sampradaya that we're getting. It's wafting through, and that's what we look for. And of the Lord's inclination, in a very personal way, you find also in the Madhya Lila. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was speaking to the residents of Kulina Gram. He notes that there was a writer, a poet, a devotee. He wasn't a very good writer because he wrote this book called Sri Krishna Vijay. Just say yes.
Yes.
Because you've read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, so you've heard of it. And Gunaraj Khan wrote it. Gunaraj Khan was a pure devotee, and he also wrote. But Prabhupada notes, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta notes that there's supposed to be a certain meter in the poetry, but it was very ragged, not perfect. He wasn't a kavi per se. He was just a pure devotee who wrote. But he wrote this book called Sri Krishna Vijay, and in it he says, Nanda Nandana Krishna More Pranath. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, E Bhakye Vikainu. Since he said that, he wrote that in his book. He's sold all the residents of Kalina. I've been purchased by them. Why? Because centuries ago, this Gunaraj Khan wrote that in the book, Nanda Nandana Krishna More Pranath, that the son of Nanda Maharaj is my life and soul. He said, he wrote it, the book's in your town, everybody is dear to me in this town. Then he says, even the dog. He's in the town where the book was written, where that statement is made. He's dear to me too. And so Krishna has this inclination. He's ready to pour out mercy unlimitedly to any personality. And we find the key here in Prahlad Maharaj, that if one imbibes this mood of service for service, then that's the moment we feel satisfied, but that's the moment Krishna takes notice of us and unleashes an ocean of mercy into our lives. And for devotees who realize this, that this is our relationship eternally, they can't do enough at every second to give to Krishna, because Atmanam Akilatmanam, the principle is he's the soul of our soul. So it's a practical realization in the end to know the science. Sarvapadi vinirmuktam tapratvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhaktir uchite. This is called devotional service when you realize that my senses actually belong to Krishna. And everything else belongs to Krishna, and therefore I'll use everything in his service. And in the process, we purify our senses, and also Krishna gives us his unlimited mercy, and it never stops and it keeps increasing. Those are a few preliminary thoughts, and if we have time still, we'll take a couple of reflections or questions to try to expand the conversation. Prabhu, yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you very much for such an encouraging class. It's my great fortune to be in this August Assembly. Prabhuji, my question is that, as you said, that the 21 generations that get liberated. So when we do our book distributions, so sometimes the person take the book, or they might just, because of pressure or because of presence of the devotee, take the book. So this person to reach the gold standard, as you mentioned, Prahlad Maharaj is a gold standard, servant of the servant, and engaging the services, senses in the service of the Lord. So from that perspective of the person who willingly or unwillingly took the book, achieving the gold standard, will it be the same life by the endeavor of this person, or the devotee, this one moment will achieve this gold standard?
Well, I don't know, but it happened to be my friend Richie Corsa. Didn't want the book, but he gave it to me and I wanted it. It's not helpful to be really precise on this calculation. In fact, there's not a lot of description by acharyas of exactly what it means, 21 generations. Besides here it says putraha, they're purified. And then we get into the semantics of it, where they liberated, not liberated, the technicalities. The main thing is that Krishna is nearly indiscriminate in giving out his mercy. You just have to be nearby. I mean, what did Putana do, really? I've been looking for that for years. Keep going back over the commentary. do. And then Uddhava says, come Sharanam Vrajema. I think there's something got in the box. And so, who knows? It's really hard to figure out, trace back for each person. I suppose if you ask ChatGPT, it could figure it out. You know, as far as tracing the people back. But you can refine your question.
Yeah. So assuming the case that this person got a book, by whichever means, the effort required for this person to achieve the gold standard, to put the so many times as you see in the world around, trouble and work pressure and other pressures, it's like very difficult. So my precise question is that our response society is ultimately a society. So how we devotees can actually help these people who are just initially coming up and doing it in, because just like Prabhupada said, show me in university where there is a department for soul. So we have all these, this journey is disconnected. It will be like a lot of chance and arrangement of the Lord and mercy of the Lord. This person will take up in a full-fledged manner. Servant putting, came back from the yatra where we saw 10,000 devotees, but the world has got 8. So these 8 billion books by the numbers like distributed, but not all of them are becoming in this. They are reaching at least standard. So what is it the whole can do? Our response society can do to gradually lift this person up, because this person on his or her own.
Well, to keep the standard of Madhavendra Puri and the Maharaj that we do for service. We don't want, we're not individually, we make this decision that Krishna has parityaja, mamekam sharanam vraja, ahantang sarvat papibhyo mokshayishamimas. If we sit down and think about it for a long time and consider that Krishna has this opportunity, and then we say, okay, I'm signing up for it. I'm going to accept it. I'm going to completely surrender to Krishna. Of course, as Prabhupada mentions and Krishna mentions, even though we may make that decision, Baba Grahi Janardana, just like Bali Maharaj made at the time when Vaman cave, he may not be able to immediately, but once you've made that decision, then that's the fulcrum of all, as far as bhakti goes. Is it your own decision that I'm surrendering to Krishna? And then other people can take that from that mood. And you'll know anywhere where there's a successful family or community, there's someone there that the fragrance of the place. There's somebody there who, when they chant, you may not see it externally, but internally they're thinking, Krishna said, Sarvadharma Prityaja, I'm taking it. And Krishna, there's no other thing except for you and my surrender to you that matters at all in this life. And if somebody has that, then the fragrance goes out. And everyone knows it, they're feeling it, and it's not something you can necessarily measure. You can't go to the hardware store and get a meter and put it around the person's arm and say, yeah, he's like an 8 or something like that. But that's what's important in our International Society for Krishna Consciousness, probably keep the standard of pure devotional service. If we don't have that, it doesn't matter how much we expand, because what are we expanding? Lots of people expand. I mean, lots of big corporations get bigger and bigger. Of course, eventually they fall apart too, because everything does in this world. But what's the use of expansion if you don't have the gold standard? So the main thing is to work on it oneself. And we can't, only from that position can you influence other people, because you can't push something you're not going yourself. And you can build really nice systems for organizing everything. But if you don't have that, it still feels dull. The only thing that's exciting in this world, as I mentioned before, is selfless. Even in the secular world. Everything else is boring. But people want to see somebody take a risk. That's why initiations are so powerful. people, friends, even new people come to initiation. It's like, wait a minute, they're going to make a vow in front of God? No meat eating for the rest of your life. No illicit sex ever. You mean even no gambling? I'm going to chant 16 rounds a day. Even devotees who've been around for a while, they hear that and they go, wow, that's intense. And taking risks for Krishna based on that. I mean, Prabhupada's story gets told again and again because that's what's interesting. He got on a boat with no money and came to a foreign country with no associates and no help. That's a story. And look what happened. And Prabhupada said, I didn't go to Thompson Square Park to attract a crowd. I went there to glorify Krishna. Brahmananda told me this. He said, I didn't go to Thompson Square Park to attract a crowd. I went there to glorify Krishna. And look what happened. And if that becomes our standard, whether you're in a family or in a small community, a center, I know there's designate, whatever it is, that's what counts. The other part is only to facilitate that mood. And if we don't have that, good luck, because it all becomes boring and useless and a burden. It's a great burden unless we have that sense of bhava, that let's surrender to Krishna and just do what he says, sarvadharma parityajya. And we're in it together. That's why devotees, they raise their hand in kirtan and they feel somebody's chanting the Maha Mantra because we're going to do this. We're surrendering to Krishna. That's what's exciting. Prabhu?
Thank you, Maharaj, for the wonderful class and the topic. That is the bhava. You told that selfless, you give, that is the main. So now you are from Silicon Valley and the world of technology, AI and all is going on. People are so engrossed in so many details of this change. So how we can bring those people who are already absorbed 24/7 in those technologies to get this kind of bhava, or at least that kind of thought that is also missed?
Yeah, they're absorbed, but they're not happy. And that's why they're available. Because we find that lots of corporations where people have to get in, they're provided a good enough salary so that they think they can calculate that, I'll be able to retire sometime. And they also have some prestige because they're an engineer or whatever. And it's dull. But when they hear Hare Krishna and they see people who are surrendering their lives to Krishna, therefore, what should we do? We should surrender to Krishna. And then we should go out and offer. Somebody chants Hare Krishna or speaks about Krishna who's already decided to surrender. That's it. Nobody else but Krishna, only service for service. Prita Maharaj said the sound vibration is different. The way he put it poetically was, okay, that person, their sound vibration mixes with these saffron particles on Krishna's lotus feet. When it enters people's ears, they go, yeah, I should surrender too. I mean, we meet people who have everything and who say, there's a devotee in our congregation who is, he's retired now, even though he's young, and he was in a very prestigious position, which also meant lots of income. And he said, but my wife and I, and she also worked, completely empty. Completely, even though we had everything. And then they wanted to have kids, and they couldn't have kids, so they got 2 dogs. Because everyone's trying to get some, like, come here, doggy, can you make me happy, And then it turned out they could have kids, so they had 2 kids, and one of the kids is like 4.5 years old, but she's somehow or other, she came into the family that was, as he described himself, I was virtually atheistic. I had no interest in God. Born in their family. All she wanted to do was go to the temple. And so he said, when we were all sitting at the table, said, she dragged us all. including the older son who's 8 years old. She dragged us all, and then they had a taste for it. And what he said was, coming to back to the point, he said, now that we've discovered Krishna consciousness, he said, we want people that are in our situation to discover it too. And it reminds me, charming and humorous at the same time, we had a GBC up in Canada. Jagadish Guru is a really good leader. The Canadian temple is in one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in North America. And the houses are, you'd get lost in there, up and down the street. It's practically downtown, very high rent area. And devotees would go out on book distribution. He'd go door to door in the I feel really sorry for the rich people. And being successful in the material world, because at least poor people have hope. They think, like, maybe when I make it, I'll be happy. But the rich people, like, I already made it, and I'm completely unhappy, so they feel a complete void. We can fill that void. And right before I came here, we did a program at Salesforce, downtown San Francisco. And it was a Janmashtami program, just straightforward, preaching about the topic of my talk there was the ultimate object of meditation. And it was Krishna. And I talked about why Krishna comes. I gave the verse, I worked off the verse, Anugrahaya Bhaktanam Manusham Deham Ashrita, that Krishna brings his form so that we can, Yashrutva Parovet, give us something to talk about, someone to meditate on. I just presented that, just straightforward, because why not? It was Janmashtami. Like, what do you expect me to do? So we were giving that talk, and then we had kirtan, and you could see into the meeting room, or people who were walking by on their way to work, they could see in. And when we started the kirtan, there were a lot of people in the room never heard of kirtan, ever. And they were just, and there, because it was a program at their place. And as we watched everyone become enlivened by the chanting inside the room, is a experiment, because it's like in a test tube almost, little glass thing. And the people walking by, we watched them too, because I could see them. Everyone's back was to the glass, the window. And as people walking by, they go, what? And then they hear the vibration coming through the glass, and at least 50% of them did a U-turn and tried to get in. And then they started letting more and more people in until it was standing room only. And after the kirtan stopped, you could feel it in the room that people, for the first time, maybe ever, they felt some satisfaction. So what's our secret? It's service for service, and Sarvadharma Parityaja, and Hare Krishna. Mostly what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did. He preached to a few people like Prakashananda Saraswati and Sarvabhaumacharya, but mostly he just said, just chant the holy name and feed everybody. And if we concentrate on doing that and expanding the Hare Krishna vibration to everybody, and especially in book distribution, it's emphasized by our acharyas as the Brihat Madanga, that when you do that, then it's really sticky, because people can't get rid of books. Once they have them, they hang around for generations in their houses. And was there one more question? Yes. I think I'm out of time. I'm in. Please. Microphone back to the Vaishnavis. Prabhu. It's 9:20.
Yeah, ample of time it up to you. Even till 9:40.
Hare Krishna,
Okay.
Prabhuji. Thank you so much for your nectarian class. Please accept at your lotus feet.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, as you mentioned that Prahlad Maharaj denied whatever Narsimha Bhagwan wants to give, but aspire for a to give something like which conditions so like me accept at the settled level and enjoy. So how to say no to the faith if at
The way to do that, mention Bhagvatam. I don't know if it specifically mentions fame, but it mentions wealth. It says study the inconvenience of wealth, to not be. If you actually consider how inconvenient the material world is in all of its aspects, and sublime when one just gives everything to Krishna, then you fame. And also, fame is in this world anyway. Just on the other side of fame is infamy. And so it's better to stay equal. In fame or infamy, you should just stay the same. Stay the same is think, Krishna, it's all your energy. You inspired me to do something. You empowered me to do something. It has nothing to do with me. It's just my desire to stay engaged in service. And if you keep that equal level, don't become elated when you get some fame, and also don't become disturbed when you get some infamy. Then you can move through the world and not be touched by it. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Brahmanya daya karmani sangam tyakva karotiya, lipitena sapapena padma patram ivamnasa. And this means that he gives the example of lotus flower. It's a padmaja. It grows out of mud and on the top of the water, but it's never muddy. It's always pristine and beautiful, and it's never wet. It's impervious, which is a word that exactly means that water can't get in. And so even though it's in the water, it can't get in. Why can't it get in? Brahmanya daya karmani sangam tyakva karotiya. The person renounces all sangha or connection to the results of his or her work. And so just stay like that. Don't take it. Just be satisfied in the fact that you're able to stay engaged in Krishna's service. Yeah, I had another thought about it, but it escaped my mind. Your colleague next to you would like to.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the wonderful class. And there were many, beautiful points. Which I loved is that the fragrance of devotional service attracts Krishna. And I need to surrender first to Krishna and then go out for book distribution or go out and preach. So until I am not surrendered, I won't be able to, influence the others. What can I also tell?
Is that a question or an absolute statement?
That's a reflection that I love these.
No, you can go out. That is an act of. I find that it's the easiest act of surrender that you can do demonstratively and practically. Because if you just go out with the Sankirtan party, the exhilaration you feel, like your mind saying, tell people your mom just called and she wants a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and I got to go home. Any excuse except for go out the door and meet the public because what might happen. And if you can create an atmosphere where everyone goes out together and they feel the exhilaration of going out into the great unknown, the public, and just trying to do the right thing by giving other people Krishna consciousness, it's a demonstrable act of surrender, and you directly feel it. And devotees who do that, even neophytes, people who just joined, and they get used to that, they become addicted to doing selfless acts. So it's a high sadhana, and it's a good idea to go out. But for new people, you have to create a where they feel protected. They can go out with a group, and also, we tell people when they go out for book distribution, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to perform. All you have to do is just go out. In fact, we have this ritual, we call it. We tell people at our seminars that don't think that you're going to sell anything, distribute. In fact, you can't distribute books. Yeah. No distributing books. Just go out, and the only thing you have to do today is go to the spot where you're designated and touch the pavement with your right foot, and we'll take a picture. You're done for the day. When you take away when you take away any expectation of result from people, they environment where they go out and then they think, wow, there's internal energy out here. And so that's what makes a temple breathe, is when everyone's going out and getting this oxygen from the outside world, where they feel this exhilaration of, wow, I went out? Me? I could never do this, but I did. I went out. And then the best realization that can fall upon a community is, we're not doing this, Lord Chaitanya is. But we're putting ourselves in these situations where we're taking risks for Lord Chaitanya, and then we're realizing that he's the one who's making up for it, and that's what makes ISKCON go. And if you don't have that throughout the whole community, or any place that you have it, you find that oxygen. And when you don't have it, what you find is a pile-up of bureaucracy. Because everyone tries to make things work by making more plans. I've seen some conflicts in my life, like, you know, this person's under that person's, and this work there, this, that, and it becomes so complicated, but that's not what makes it go. We should first have this sense of selfless service, going out to preach, and then use management to... And then you can manage as much as you want, but you gotta have something to manage, and if you don't manage the core of what we're... then you get the biggest mess and the most boring situation in the world, which is bureaucracy, which kills the soul, the Atmaha. Srila Bhakti recognized it. He saw that organization got to a certain point, and people, he said, this is horrible. I didn't even want to... He had that sentiment, and he preached it so heavily to our Srila Prabhupada. He said, don't let this happen. In that mode of Ottadanga Junction Road, we were poor, we couldn't afford rice in Bengal. They're preaching, and that's what was exciting. And he said, if you ever get money, print books. He caught Srila Bhaktisiddhanta at that exact moment when he was giving that instruction, and Prabhupada brought that. And that's what we're to carry on, is that taking risks for Krishna, preaching.
Thank you, Maharaj. You exactly what I really wanted to hear. Thank you.
Thank you. So, yes. Tech support on aisle 1.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Hare Krishna. Thank you. Wonderful talk. I got your book Family several times last time in Pune, and it was I also came up with new ideas for book distribution. Now, like Maharaj, for me personally, after COVID, we got many more preaching ideas, like Zoom preaching is there, YouTube. So it is more comfortable and relaxing sitting in a room on chair and giving talks to hundreds of boys, than going out on the streets and distributing books. Like from within there is a lot of resistance, and sometimes it is also considered a primitive way of preaching, like because now it's the age of technology and AI and whatever. So in this day and age, like now we are entering into marathon month. So how do we maintain that enthusiasm with all these preaching ideas what we have? Hare Krishna.
Well, preaching ideas are good, and we should brainstorm. Any wealthy person has at least 7 streams of income, and any successful Sankirtan party has at least 7 streams of book distribution. We should meditate on and develop those ideas. As far as our personal engagement goes with the world, it's very simple. We just keep it at a basic level and try to be nice. Jive doi Krishnanam Sarvadharma Sarv. Just be aware of the fact that we're lucky, and we can make other people fortunate and lucky also. And as an example, wherever we go, we take books with us. Yesterday we went on a walk. What neighborhood is that? Magapat. We went to the Magapat. And when we go out, I'm with Sudhir Madhava Prabhu, who kindly helps run interference for us anywhere we go. And he always keeps a bag of books, some lollipops, some stickers with Hare Krishna on it. and we have a little card in Hindi or Bengali or whatever languages we're doing. And so yesterday we just went for a normal walk, but it was not normal because we had books. And as we were walking along, you know, people are living their boring lives, and they see devotees walking along happy and it's tilak and all that. And if they're a little pious, they just smile at us. A big mistake. Because next thing we smile back and we go over. Of course, in India, it's like fishing in a barrel because, you know, everyone's so nice here. We just go over and then we hand them a lollipop, a sticker, a book, and then show them what the deal is that they're going to donate. And then they donate, and then it starts a whole relationship. And we met so many people yesterday. It was life-changing just going for a walk. And so just implementing that principle that always be ready to give this to other people in ways that are appropriate for wherever you are. For instance, on our yatras, when we do a yatra, everybody in the yatra has a book bag. And they also have books, and they have all the equipment that they need to distribute books. So we get lots of people who are brand new on the yatra, or kids who have never been on book distribution. When we go to the Dhams, on the way to where we're going, we distribute books, and on the way back. And they become enlivened by it. And so do the people that we meet. Like in Puri, one day we were going up the street from the hotel we were staying at with about 100 devotees. And when we came back down the street with the Harinam, you could see everybody had one of these in their mouth. Everybody, even people going by on motorcycles. Most people, we have Jagannath stickers, these we give out, it says Hare Krishna. But everywhere we look, we see the Jagannath stickers on motorcycles, on shops, and everything like that. Then there'd be at least, you know, every third shop, there's some guy sitting in there, like reading the book. And the place was covered, saturated, because, and then the exciting part was a lot of the devotees, they didn't even speak English. We have devotees from China and Japan, and, you know, they don't know. And we just teach them a technique where they can extend themselves and give the books to people and have a nice exchange. And it changes everything. So stay in the mood of giving and always be ready for it. And then when you find something that works, you try to expand it and make it, brand it. And then brand it and expand it once you find something that works. That's what our movement is. It's just an excuse to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. That's why Prabhupada, you know, put a stamp on it. He didn't want to just make it more complicated to live. He wanted to preach and have devotees have a place where they could always be hearing and chanting together. And that's what we do. And as soon as we do it, individually, one-on-one, even to a bug, if you go chant to a bug, that's bona fide too. Krishna comes in all species of life, right? Bhavayat yesha satvena lokan vailoka bhavana lila vataranurato devatiri andararisu. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's mood was, we must also preach to the vegetable tribes. What about the poor vegetables? Were you thinking about them today? Start thinking, what are you going to do for the poor vegetables out there growing? It's like, Hare Krishna. And that was Haridas Thakur's mood. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, which is better? Silent chanting, soft chanting, or really loud chanting? Really loud. And then our acharyas say, what's the loudest thing? Books. Because you can't get rid of it. Once you got a book in your house, like, it's there. And you have to live with it for the rest of your life. Okay, we're really winding down now.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Maharaj, for your kind association and allowing me for this question. My question is, at this, the verse is there, so bit towards parenting. we hear that, I have a small daughter, Maharaj, and my question is, what should be my outlook towards her and what should my duty towards her? Because basically, what I hear that, devotees coming to this Krishna consciousness environment are very special. Yet, I see when they grow up, not many of them are, as we would expect them to be. So that's the question, Maharaj. What should be my outlook towards the kids, and what's the duty towards them?
Set a stellar example, give unconditional love, give priority to your kids. The best investment anybody can make in the Christian consciousness movement is in kids. And then as they're growing up, make sure they have an environment where they're with other kids who are doing devotional things. And as they come into their teenage years, the main mantra is they succeed when they see peers doing great in Krishna consciousness. So any environments you can make where they're peers. And also empower kids so they have upward mobility. So they have services where they have a stake in the Krishna consciousness movement. They have something they can do and organize as they come into their teen years especially. So they feel like they own it. And those are principles that have worked in our community. We're noticing that kids, when they're together with other kids, especially in their teens, they emulate what the others do. And if they're with young people that are doing great in Krishna consciousness, they aspire for that too. And we noticed a trend around the world where a lot of teenagers, they'd gather for doing kirtan. And if they're good at it, expert in fact, but that in many places that's it. We do kirtan, this is our thing, this is our brand. Rebrand. Just rebrand the whole thing. And if you have a place where you can rebrand and just say, yeah, kids are great at kirtan, do kirtan, but also add shlokas, reading, and japa, and service, and book distribution. 5 things. And say, this is the new brand. They can take that brand just as well as they can just the brand of just kirtan. Why limit? Give them an opportunity to do all these services. And those other kinds of services are so naturally inspiring to the soul. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Priyojita Janaya Yashavairagyam Gyanam Chayahaitukam. They come into full knowledge by having that facility. So work hard to develop systems where young people can be with other young people and they can do all of the devotional activities which they're perfectly willing to do when they're led to that plethora of devotional activities. Om Tat Sat. Thank you for giving me an abundant portion of your time, way more than I think that I should have spoken, but we're very grateful to be here in this community. It's famous all over the world. We love Radhe Shyam Prabhu, and we love all of you. And what you're doing here is extremely important and vital, not just for your own lives, going back to Godhead and using the gift Krishna's given us, but also you're bringing thousands and tens of thousands of people into Krishna consciousness. So take this life, make a plan to give pillar to post, the whole life in Krishna consciousness, and take as many people with you as you can. Om Tat Sat.
Thank you. It was so enlivening to hear you. Prabhu spoke about, how he actually makes Krishna consciousness to the hearts, not only newcomers, but even devotees. As you heard today, how which he said, speech of certain devotees carries the fragrance of Krishna's lotus feet dust. So his speech is really very much matching with Krishna Pada Padma Gandha Yejana Pai, it is said. So it was such a sweet presentation, giving lot of assurance, confidence, that even if you can do a little, Krishna takes it very seriously. So he emphasized the importance of reaching out the books. Marathon is just around the corner. So inspiration from Prabhu today. There is program tomorrow. All of you are most welcome. Register for that, I think. Yeah, you're registered and you can check with the BCC. It's going to be 2-3 hours, I think, tomorrow. So you all can take advantage of it. Prabhu has written Bhagavatam. This is extremely popular in the West, and it's now coming to India. Anybody who wishes to pick up a copy of this, Prabhuji will personally. You can take it. Yes, just come and pick up a copy. And there's 4 questions. When you read this book, you can also you know what to talk to new people. Many new people have the same question beautifully answered this by Prabhu. As well. Rakla Mataji ji.
We have a little gift for everybody, a token of our deep appreciation. Is this it? Oh, okay. Here. Nirakula Devi Dasi will give to all the Vaishnavis, and I'll give to everybody on this side of the temple. Go Premanande. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu,